So after a week of speculation and official confirmation from spoilers, Randy Orton versus Brock Lesnar is official for SummerSlam on August 21st, 2016. I cannot wait for this match. This is a match a lot of people have been wanting to see for a long time, and I can't blame them. Like, a lot of people mostly say, "Oh, I want to see RKO countering the F5. I want to see that legendary spot." And I gotta agree, that kind of won me over. Like, yeah, I would love to see that. Though, here's the problem I have. There are several problems with this match. However, one is that people will be hoping for the F5 turned into RKO scene, and if they don't do that, and I can understand why, because they don't want to risk injury to Orton like they already have, or concussion to Lesnar, because there's a chance for that accidents could happen, then people are going to bitch and moan and say, "Ugh, worst match ever. Why didn't they do the RKO? It was such a great match and then they ruined it." No, the same excuses ruin everything, but this is a completely different story. The second problem is Randy Orton just got back from shoulder surgery. He's only at 80% from what reports say. And now they say, "Hey, let's book him in a match with Brock Lesnar, who has been known to do suplexes on people's necks and shoulders." Yeah, that's going to work. Yeah. You see the problem here? And the third problem is Brock Lesnar. This match might not actually happen at all, depending on what happens at UFC 200 between Brock Lesnar and Mark Hunt, which generally surprised me that the WWE allowed it, since they like to say, since according to Punk in his podcast with Cole Cabana, he says that WWE describes UFC as barbaric and someone's gonna die, and like, I'm thinking, so no one in wrestling history has ever died in your ring. I'm thinking of somebody, but I can't put the top of my head. Like, I believe Booker T said it in commentary once because Vince McMahon is an insensitive asshole, but that's a completely different story. I've already made a video about that. So, yeah. Now, Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton is a dream match. It's a match a lot of people have been wanting to see for the last 14 years since their last encounter, when Orton was just on this rising status and Brock Lesnar was the dominant force. Now Randy Orton is the star and Brock Lesnar's the dominant force. But with Mark Hunt and UFC happening, there's a chance Lesnar could get injured in the UFC match, and they can't do the match because of it. Which would explain why they just announced it right away, because they thought, okay, let's just announce it, but if Brock Lesnar gets hurt, at least we don't have to capitalize on it, since we just announced it, there's no build-up, all that. So, I think that was the mentality WWE was going for, because they wanted to just announce it and not give a build-up to it, because they don't want to build this match up, and then when Lesnar gets hurt, it's like, oh, fuck. Like, how are we supposed to compensate? We just make this big build. So it has to depend on Brock Lesnar and how he does in UFC UFC 200 soon, so we'll have to wait and see on that. This match, they had very much a big beginning. Like, they were both in OVW. They were both in the rising status of their careers. They were both incredibly young. Like, Brock Lesnar, before Randy Orton, was the youngest WWE champion. Then Randy Orton became the youngest champion after he won the World Heavyweight Championship. And I could bet Paul Heyman might do something like that, saying that WWE was being petty about Brock Lesnar leaving for football and UFC, that they went ahead and handed the belt to Randy Orton just to say, "Hey, Brock Lesnar, just choke on that. You see, we gave it to a younger guy. How do you like that?" Yes, WWE, everyone knows about that story, but let's move on. Along with that, Randy Orton and Paul Heyman have a history, mostly stemming from what happened when they were last in the ring together, where Randy Orton gave an RKO to Paul Heyman on before Hell in a Cell, which really teased us so badly, and yet they didn't do it, because John Cena is a fucking god to them. But I digress. So I can't wait for this match. It's gonna be awesome. I hope the build up lives up to the hype. I'm like, Randy Orton's most likely going to be protected because he's one of their top guys. And plus, if he can get away with threatening people backstage, according to Brad Max, and in front of Vince and get away with it, I think he'll be okay. So he's going to be more protected than Dean Ambrose was during the build up with Brock Lesnar. Like Dean Ambrose did as best as he could, but like there's a reason why the match did not live up to the hype everyone hoped it would be. And everyone was also speculating, oh, it's going to be Bray Wyatt. Oh, it's going to be Kevin Owens. Because that was also rumored to happen at SummerSlam. Kevin Owens, Bray Wyatt versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. But Randy Orton, well, okay, I'll take it. And, but the question is, who would win this match? Brock Lesnar? Randy Orton? Brock Lesnar doesn't gain anything from winning. Randy Orton, he kind of gains a lot from winning. Say, if he wins, it will thrust him back into the main event spot since he was in mid-card scene for a bit during the feud with the Wyatts, and they really need to do the feud with the Wyatts still. Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt, book it, please, after this. So, but mostly everyone's just hyped up saying that, yes, this match is finally happening. Okay, do an F5 to RKO counter, and I will say that was legendary. I even wrote a comment on Bleacher Report regarding the announcement saying, okay, I'm excited for this match, but I'm concerned that fans will bitch and moan. I didn't really say that part, but that's the best way to describe it. Over the fact that the RKO never happened. The F5 turned to RKO. I've seen a lot of people say, do this, do that, do that, do that, do that. I want to see the F5 turn into an RKO. We see the AA turn into the RKO back at Bragging Rights 2009, I think. So, do that. Do the F5 turn into an RKO maneuver. And if they do that, then I have to give WWE credit. Wow, you actually gave the fans what they wanted? I can't compensate this. It's unheard of. So, yeah. But who's also the face in this? Is it face versus heel, or is it heel versus heel? Because Randy Orton was a face and very bad at it at the time. I was pissed off when they booked him on the pre-show at one point before he got hurt. So, the Viper versus the Beast. What do you guys think of it since it's finally been announced and that it's finally going to happen? Are you excited to see a potential F5 to RKO encounter? Are you excited to see that this match is actually happening and don't really care about that F5 to RKO encounter and just want a great match out of these two? Are you curious to know who's going to win? Are you concerned about Randy Orton's health? Since, well, they're going to obviously do Suplex City, and well, the match, it might be a stinker. There's a chance because Brock Lesnar could do the domination force, though if he loses to Mark Hunt, then they have a chance to ground Brock Lesnar. So, yeah. Well, everyone, this was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Stay tuned for more.